When Kobe and I decided to create a podcast and coined it the Father Son Podcast, most would feel this is a gimmick for the podcast, and that couldn't be further from the truth. From the day Kobe was born, I introduced him to video games. This was a way of life for me, as I can remember my father buying me the Odyssey home system, where the cellophane field that clung to the TV determined what game you were playing. Kobe's love for video games grew, as did the bond of a father and a son. When I introduced him to online play, his world opened to new heights. He learned quickly that the incredible gaming experience wasn't just something shared between a father and a son, but there was an entire world that shared his passion for gaming. Gaming was just part of his upbringing, as school or sports was. We always made arrangements that a video game experience was just an arm's length away, even when we went on vacation. As Kobe got older, our experience took us to the road, experiencing events like the Great E3 to more modern events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Experience, IGN, and PAX. Kobe graduated from college and now works in the video game industry on the Xbox team. So, as you can see, it was nothing but natural progression to now share our experience and love of the industry through our podcast. Now sit back and enjoy the ride.
And what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. Dad, how you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. Actually, pretty excited. I'm about halfway through Mafia right now, so actually digging and enjoying the actual story and the gameplay.
Awesome. Yeah, we could definitely get into that just in a little bit. I do want to just quick point out some stuff for maybe first-time viewers or returning viewers. Please join our Discord. Scan the QR code right up there. We are trying to build a big community where we can talk to all of you. And so far, we've been growing pretty well. We have 22 members in the Discord already. Off to a great start. And I love interacting with people and just chatting about video games and what we love. So feel free, scan that QR code that leads you right to the Discord itself. Also want to point out the social medias up here, as we've had a lot of questions about them. For Instagram and YouTube, we are at Active Reload Gaming. That is a reload. And then for Twitter or X and Twitch, we are at Active Rel. That is with REL, Active Rel Gaming. And then TikTok is Active Reload Gaming as well. Along with today, unfortunately, we are not streaming on TikTok, as last week we got suspended for a reason that was unknown. They did not provide any reasoning for us. And on the app, it said that we were completely fine. But on Restream, where we do stream and broadcast from, it says that we are still suspended until actually after this show. So once this is done, we're going to go back and try to get back into TikTok's good graces and start streaming again over there. So just wanted to point that stuff out, but we are still posting bite-sized clips of the podcast on TikTok and all these social platforms as well. So please feel free to follow us. We always give a lot of announcements as to upcoming podcasts, whether we're going to do giveaways, what we're up to, or just talking about gaming in general. So yeah, Dad, do you have anything else to say about the socials?
No, just again, every like, every share helps us out. So just please do that and subscribe to all of ours. We'd love it.
Yes, 100%. TikTok has been the biggest one so far, and we're seeing a lot of love and support over there. But and YouTube has been awesome as well. Yeah, all the socials have been popping off, so we're really happy to see that. So yeah, just feel free, drop us a follow on all of these, and we greatly appreciate it, and we would love to interact with you guys even more. And I do want to get into some housekeeping before we move on to talking about Mafia and also a game that I finished, and also finishing Mafia. But I just want to go over some quick housekeeping here, and as we all remember, next week we're going to be live from PAX West here in Seattle, Washington. That is going to be on September 1st. We're going to be in the venue talking about the games that we saw, played, and so on, and just how the overall event was. Then on September 8th, we are going to be having a topic of whether or not remakes/remasters are good for the industry. We'll be able to define what a remake/remaster even is to kind of set the stage for the podcast. And during this, we are also going to be having our very first video game official reviews. We have given our opinions on games here before, but an official review where we'll give our score, kind of go in depth about the game, and that's going to be for Gears of War Reloaded, along with Metal Gear Solid Delta remake, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. I think that is going to be a great podcast. It's going to be honing in on a lot of thoughts, and remakes, remasters are a big part of the industry, so just getting to talk about them as well. Also to you, Dad, as it is, happy Gears of War week. It comes out tomorrow. I think tomorrow is a big day for Xbox people and PlayStation people alike. This is the Barbenheimer of the video game world right now. If people remember, Barbenheimer was when Barbie and Oppenheimer came out on the same day in theaters. Tomorrow, Helldivers 2 comes out on Xbox, along with Gears of War Reloaded. So it's two very kind of like similar games of alien invasions coming in. You're these hulking people just running around shooting aliens and having fun. So I'm stoked for both releases. I think gamers are going to have two incredible options, and I'm excited for PlayStation gamers to actually get their hands on Gears of War for the very first time, as that game revolutionized the third-person shooter genre.
And to be honest with you, I'm pretty excited to have Xbox players get Helldivers, because Helldivers no slouch at all. And if I had my druthers, I said this when we were playing Helldivers, I'd love to have a Helldivers Gears. I think that would be super dope to have that. But yeah, I'm excited to play Gears on PlayStation, see what it's all about. But the reality is, Helldivers is no slouch itself for those Xbox players that don't want to play the Gears of War Reloaded because they've actually played it before. Helldivers is going to be
100%. And Helldivers is getting the Halo collab. So what other better way to really solidify the launch of Helldivers 2 with the ODST collab? Ever since Helldivers 2 came out, everyone's like, we need an ODST collab. We need this. And having them actually bring it where you get Halo armor sets along with Halo weaponry, such as the shotgun, the silenced SMG, and the assault rifle, and skins for the vehicles and the drop pods. Yeah, I am super stoked, but I'm also excited to jump into Gears once again. I'm really curious to see what this remaster entails, what they changed, if they really changed much, or is it just going to be kind of brightening up and bringing it to a new audience, and that's kind of what the overall game is going to be. I know you're excited for Gears. I'm more excited for Metal Gear Solid to see what they do with that remake this week. So I'm excited to just start getting my hands on all these games.
But the Helldivers, that's where I do like when we're bringing IPs over to other platforms, because this is a byproduct of it. You get Helldivers with the ODST. I'm all for that. I am 100% fine with taking exclusives to one platform and putting them on others, because I think at the end of the day, it's going to be beneficial to all gamers.
And with crossovers, I'm fine with crossovers if it thematically makes sense. And I think it thematically makes sense for this case. I think crossovers have been a hot topic in gaming recently, especially with, I always bring this up the last few times, but it's a prime example, Beavis and Butthead and Call of Duty. Thematically, it does not make sense for that crossover, but I couldn't think of anything better than ODSTs going into Helldivers, because, well, the Helldivers are dropping from the sky and fighting an alien invasion, or the robots, or the other aliens. I forget what they're, the Illuminate. So yeah, I think this is just, a perfect match to happen.
Yours had drop pods too, so just remember that.
Maybe Gears of War will be on the way at some point. The other thing I wanted to mention that was kind of alongside with the housekeeping is we do have a couple exciting things for PAX West. You and I have appointments and games that we know that we're going to be checking out. Both of us have got in and have demo appointments for Kirby Air Riders along with Pokemon Za Legends. We're going to be there Friday actually testing out the games at the Nintendo booth. We were able to secure our passes. And yeah, we're excited to go try those games out. They are going to be two huge Switch 2 titles coming out for the rest of this year. So getting our first hands-on impressions, bringing the preview to you guys, along with being able to go and actually get our hands on with Resident Evil Requiem, Onimusha Way of the Sword, and Pragmata. I'm also going to be trying to get my hands on Crimson Desert as well. So there's a lot of big games at PAX West that we're going to be circling around on the show floor in order to get some previews for you guys and get our thoughts out there. Do you have anything to say about the games that we're going to be checking out?
No, but I can't wait for Resident Evil. That's my favorite. It's going to be my show floor favorite.
Oh, 100%. I've heard the demo from people who played it at Gamescom is super scary. So then bring in this is gonna be the first time that Resident Evil is playable in the US. So I'm really excited to be there and just with a whole bunch of fans who want that same experience.
And I'm
But
going to
Luke,
really blow everybody's mind. This will be my first Pokemon game I've ever played.
yes, that is a very shocking thing. And I think the people who are going to be running the demo booths are going to be looking at you with shocked faces as
Correct.
you are going to be doing some wild combinations, as you're not going to know most of the weaknesses for any of the Pokeballs. You're going to be like, what does this even do? So it'll be fun, though.
I'll
I'm
just
excited for
tell
you
them
to
I'm
try
an
it.
old man. I'm an old man. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for you to actually try Pokemon for the first time, as that is one of the biggest, probably the biggest franchise of all time. So, yeah, excited for you to hop into that. But looping back to when we first started, you said you actually started playing Mafia: The Old Country and are about halfway through the game. I have finished the game now. I am done with it. I can give my full thoughts, but I want to hear more about yours quick.
I actually like the game a lot. I know it's a slower pace, but as we get into later on with some questions for older gamers, sometimes I like that. Every game doesn't have to be that white knuckle squeezing and breaking the controller and moments. And to me, I like it. I like the gameplay. I know we talked about the knife fighting. I actually enjoy the knife fighting. And I like the story. I'm really entrenched in the story right now. So, like I said, I'm about 50% through, which I think is enough playthrough to get a good feel of what the game is.
Yeah, so I'm on the other end. It took me 11 and a half hours to fully finish the game. I played it on hard mode. I got mostly all the achievements in the game, only 5 achievements away. So I did my due diligence with Mafia: The Old Country. And I know when we first started talking about it here on the podcast, I was a little bit lower on it. But as I progressed through the story and started to see the things unfold and started to see more of what the game had to offer, I ended up enjoying my time with it. Now, is it the best Mafia entry in the franchise? I'm still kind of thinking about that. I don't think so. I think my heart really lies with Mafia 2, as that was my first Mafia. But that being said, if I had to give a score of the game, I think I would give it a 7 out of 10 at the end of the day. I think it was a good video game. I think it does have a lot of issues. One being, I do think the pacing is a little rough in areas. I think it took way too long to really get into the actual meat and potatoes of the game. But that being said, when you do get inducted into the actual family about 4 hours into the game, I think it really starts to pick up as you start to learn more about this old school mafia in Sicily, seeing what they're actually doing, and also seeing this Romeo and Juliet story unfold. I think that was one of the most compelling parts of the game, even though that those story beats have happened many of times before in multiple pieces of media. I can't really recall a Romeo and Juliet story in games. I could be misremembering, but I don't recall any forbidden love stories. But I was sold on the characters. I was sold on the romance. So I think story wise, it was good. I think the story was the best part of the game. I think, though, I am not a huge fan of the knife fights. I think there's way too many of them. They got super repetitive. Like every big boss battle, in quotes, was a knife fight in the game. None of the patterns really change enemy to enemy. It's the same few moves. It's very low stakes. It's not as engaging as I want it to be. And this is more of a nitpick, but the animations every time you do kill one of these boss fights, I am not a huge fan of. It didn't feel like enough impact with the knife going in. So I definitely just think the knife fighting was a little bit lazy. That being said, I will say this though. I do think, which is very funny, the game is kind of comparable to the Order 1886 back on the PlayStation 4. And I think I like Mafia: The Old Country as much as I do the Order. I think the Order was a little misunderstood, and I had the same problems with that game. It was a little bit slow. It had a lot of rough patches, but I do think there is a good game in here, and it just takes a little bit of going through the rough and tough to get to that. But yeah, I did enjoy my time with it overall. I do think if you're and I think the $50 price tag is spot on for this game. Like, I think if this was anything above $50, I would think this is an egregious price point. I think it wouldn't be worth your money, but I can make a case that for $50, it's good. That being said, I also ran into some performance issues with the game. It is an Unreal Engine 5 game, and a lot of these games have been struggling recently. I did hit a couple stutters here and there, some graphical glitches, some frame rate drops, but overall, kind of a smooth experience. Do you have anything else to say about Mafia?
No, I'm pleased with it.
Cool. The other game I wanted to bring up that I actually finished over the weekend was RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business. This was the standalone follow-up to RoboCop Rogue City that released in 2023. And funny enough, I really liked RoboCop Rogue City, the video game. Now, granted, I am a RoboCop movie fan, so I definitely had some attachment to this. And I really and you even played Rogue City, and I think you enjoyed the game as well.
And I'm not a RoboCop fan, the movie, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And the only reason I played it because I played the Terminator, that the same company did the Terminator game, which was incredible. So I played RoboCop, loved it. So I can't wait to play this next iteration of it.
Yeah, and I think this company definitely handles like those like B tier movies, like, or B tier games pretty well, I would say. Kind of taking those movies, making into a B tier game. It's not like groundbreaking, but they're fun. That being said, so RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business is a $30 game. They said it was a standalone follow up to it, and if I had to give a rating on my own scale, I think this game is a 6 out of 10. I think it was fine at best. I think for what the experience was and for the $30 price tag, I can't be overly mad at it. You know, I did enjoy my time with it. I had fun. It was mindless, just running around being a RoboCop, killing people and kind of climbing the OCP tower, going from floor 1 all the way up through this very mediocre story. The story was one of the worst parts of this game. It was very bare bones. It would mainly serviced you to get from point A to point B. At the end of the day, I thought the villain's motivations were lackluster. I just didn't care about a lot of what was happening in this game. That being said, I think the biggest offender for Rogue City Unfinished Business was the performance in this game. This was another case of an Unreal Engine 5 game stuttering like crazy. Like, there was so many frame rate drops and just like quick locks on the game where you would enter another area and it would just completely freeze on you as enemies are shooting you. And you would actually take damage in these stuttering moments. And like, it just takes a game a couple seconds for it to even recalibrate. I did play it on the Xbox Series X for full context. And yeah, I was super disappointed with the performance of the game because the graphics otherwise are pretty decent. Like, they're not mind-blowing, but they do look good. And I do like what the game had to offer. But it's also a little bit repetitive. The gameplay was just mainly shooting galleries. At the end of the day, you go from room to room doing a lot of shooting galleries. And I think the thing that Rogue City, the first one, did really well was doing police investigation work. I thought that was kind of fun, going investigating crimes. That is here, but it's so lackluster and doesn't really mean anything. And there are side quests in the game, but realistically, they're just there for padding. They really don't add anything to the game. I was able to blow through it without upgrading my skill tree as much as I wanted to. Unlike the first one, where I really feel like I had to invest points into the skill tree to really progress through the game. But yeah, I know that's not the main topic of the show, but I want to give my thoughts and opinions about Rogue City Unfinished Business. 6 out of 10, fine game. Fine for $30. You know, I can't be mad at that price tag at all. And I know you plan on playing it at some point, so I'll be curious to hear what you have to say.
Sure.
Yep. But, you know, that being said, we have a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline, but today's topic of the show is, does the industry forget about older gamers? And I'm going to be interviewing you, Dad, about this, as, well, I guess by definition and age at this point, you are considered an older gamer, and we can start getting into that. So, but before we get into it, do you have anything to say about being an older gamer?
Well, again, age, to me, first and foremost, I think that gaming should not be looked at as age. And I think it was DJ said in a couple podcasts ago that, you know, there's a stigma about it in the United States, but everywhere else in the world, it's part of the culture. And yes, I'm old. I'm not 23 skidoo old, but I'm not 6, 7 young. So I'm in between there. I'm 57 years old. So to me, I've been gaming. If you listen to our opening, you know, video that we do, I've been gaming since, you know, the early 70s, mid 70s. So I've kind of had the luxury of growing up with video games. I was an arcade kid in the 80s. I was, the Odyssey in the 70s, and then I was an Atari kid. Then it kind of died for a little bit for home gaming and went into the arcades. I was an arcades 80s kid. Then obviously when the NES hit, the Nintendo Entertainment System, it just blew up home entertainment of video games. And
I'm
then
sorry, I need to interject for 2 seconds. Sure. What the hell is a 6, 7, and 23?
If you don't know, you don't know.
But do you even know? Because I don't know.
Young kids, Riz, Skippity Toilet, Cap, everything.
Okay. Now you're just throwing all these younger terms at the audience. You're going to be
not
scaring
that
people.
Young, and I'm not at the 23s could do old in the 50s or 20s or whatever. So
Well, maybe I need to start brushing up, and maybe this should just be about young terms, because I have no idea what this 6, 7 thing is or what 23 skidoo is.
Go to your young kid and go 6, 7, and you got to do the hands, and they'll know. Trust me, they'll know.
I guess this is some Gen Alpha stuff. I am unaware, and I'm usually online, but I have no idea what any of that you just said is. So I guess you're more hip than me at this point. Maybe I'm getting old.
I'm risen. You got it. I'm risen.
You're using that wrongly, but I'll allow it.
But and then again from the NES, I went on and I've been playing every PlayStation, and then on through. And then when you were born, obviously in our household, it was buying 2 consoles of everything, all the way through. So again, when you look at me as a gamer, I've been gaming from day one. So. To me, it's second nature to me. I've always said, and my wife, your mother, Melanie, I've always said to her, even when we got married, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't womanize. My vice is gaming. It is a way for me to come home from work, to let my mind just go blank, get into another world and immerse myself with it, that I kind of de-stress that way. Like that is my way to cope with the stress of everyday work and life and everything else. So I've always done that. This is my decompressing as much as I can, whether I get an hour in a day or get 5 hours in a day of gaming. I need that to decompress.
I think that gives a lot of good context to it all, and we can start moving on from there, because I have loads of questions I want to ask to kind of dive deep into this topic.
One thing lady came in, I bet you she knows what 6, 7.
I think everyone is looking at you as an insane person at this point. I will. We're gonna derail here for a second. I'm gonna look up 6, 7 meme, because you keep doing this. I really don't know if you're doing. What is the 6, 7 meme according to Reddit? The meme seemingly derives from the song Doot Doot 6, 7 by Skrilla, which features the recurring lyric 6, 7. NBA star LaMelo Ball is also associated with this trend's inception due to his improvised 6, 7 height. I don't think you have any idea what you're talking about. You just probably saw this on TikTok.
I'm telling you guys, you go to your kids and do 6, 7, they'll know what I'm talking about.
All right. Well,
the old dog teaches the young dog something new. What can I say?
Yeah. Lady says more hip than me. Yeah, Lady, I really think he's making stuff up on. Reddit has it, but I think this is some crazy behavior at this moment. So
if Reddit has it, then it's got to be true.
Everything on the internet's true. So
anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned before, but I want to know. So realistically, how long have you been gaming, and what keeps you playing today? Because the games you grew up with are way different than what we have in today's modern generation. Like looking back all the way to the Ataris and the NESs, that style of video game is a whole genre in itself, and nowhere like near what today's modern games are. So let's start. How long have you been gaming? What was your first console?
Again, my first console was, I've been gaming since the mid 70s. My first console was the Odyssey. And again, for those, you see the picture in our, excuse me, you see the picture in our opening video that it literally was Pong, but you would have a piece of cellophane. For those that don't know what a CRTV is, the CRTV gave static, and you'd hold the cellophane up. And if it was a soccer field pitch, then you were playing soccer with this. Then if it was a tennis court, you were playing tennis with it. At the end of the day, it was just Pong. So that was the first console that I was ever introduced to.
But what keeps you playing today? As obviously the video games you grew up with, even into your teens and college years and early adulthood, is very different than what we have in the modern generation. What keeps you coming back?
Well, again, I think I somewhat answered that. I think it's my stress reliever. Like, I just like doing it. One, I'm into technology. I just love technology. So where it started and where it's at today, and I've always said this to you, and I just think there was a game that came out on Steam that did this. I always said somebody should create a game from the most basic graphics and kind of go through the graphics. Here's the Odyssey, and then when you finish that level, you went to an Atari graphic, and then you went to an NES, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32, all the way up to current gen. I just think that would be so cool, not just in a game, but for people that are newer gamers to kind of see where the history came from. I'm really big into that. That's why I like Xbox trying to preserve the history of, the gaming, because I think, you really got to know where you're coming from to know where you're going.
So, if you had to recommend one way for younger gamers to go and experience the history of gaming and some of these older titles, what do you think is the best method? Because as we talked about in a previous podcast with Dan from Planet Retro, retro gaming is at an all-time high, correct? But the collecting market is also kind of getting a little expensive, especially for these retro titles. So do you recommend emulation routes? Do you recommend going and buying the physical console and physical games itself? How do you recommend for a younger person to go and explore these?
That all depends on what their intention is. If you intend to collect and do that, and it's not only for investment, but just to collect, then I would pick one console and start, and then work your way, because you could pick up a console. Like, for example, you could pick up an NES console. You could get them if you go to a flea market. You might be able to get them for $50.
Yeah.
And then not every retro game is $200. So you can actually create a nice collection and start that way. But if you have no intention to collect, I think you emulate. I think you go back and emulate. And the thing with emulation, most emulators, that you don't have that stumble of controls. They make it for modern controllers, so it kind of gets over, because again, I don't want to jump ahead in some of this stuff, but I tried to go back and play the first Resistance, and oh my goodness, I couldn't believe that I played that thing with the controls. Like, the trigger wasn't the trigger, like to shoot. It was like a right bumper, and like just the layout of the buttons. I'm like, what were people thinking back then when making it? So,
I mean, even when I was back at home, I was playing a couple PS2 games, and I was shocked. I was like, because I grew up playing the PS2, and I'm like, this one, I do not remember the graphics looking like this at all. And now, granted, I was on a modern TV using a converter, so I'm not in its true form on a CRTV or a TV that had a proprietary RCA connector. So there could be a translation error in the process. I'll give it that. But man, for example, the 3D platformers I was putting into the console, all the cameras were inverted. I'm like, why? Why is it? And then inversion was just what games normally do. Was just up is up, down is down. I'm thinking to myself, what is happening? I'm in Bizarro land right now. And honestly, I know a lot of people love this game, but one of the biggest offenders was SOCOM. Going back and trying SOCOM, it was a little rough. I have a deep appreciation for the game because of growing up and playing it and being one of my first like third-person shooters, but man, SOCOM was a bit rough to play. So it is interesting.
And if you're a purist and go back, like, you really need to get a TV for that console. So like a certain CRTV with the NES, that's the purist, because that's what it was made for. So,
I do want to ask you the next question, which is, when you hear the term older gamer in quotes, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, I never look at myself as old. I mean, to me, in my mind, I'm still, 18, 21 years old. If you look at my digital fingerprint, which everybody has, I'm probably digital fingerprinted as a 20-year-old because of the stuff that I look at. And, I watch YouTube all day. I watch, gaming information and so forth and so on. But again, when you look at an older gamer, I think that I'm a little white haired. I think anybody that started with the NES console is probably considered an older gamer at this point.
Yeah. Then I want to ask you this. Do you feel that the gaming industry sees you and people around your age as part of its audience?
I really don't. And I'll tell you why I feel that way is again, it's the stigma of the United States that as you get older, you're not supposed to enjoy video games because video games is a childish thing, and you can't run a company, you can't do this and play video games, which respectfully disagree. And I'm proud to tell people that I play video games. So I do believe that I am left out of what is the conversation of a gaming audience due to the stigma that's around it. And let's be honest, there's a lot of adults that just get out of the gaming because they don't feel that they should be gaming in the position in life that they're in. But I don't, and I wear it outwardly proud versus let's be this closeted gamer.
But before we continue, I just want to tell everyone a quick word about ActiveReloadGaming.com, our website. So let's take a look at the ad.
Got games you don't play anymore? Turn that collection into cash at ActiveReloadGaming.com. It's fast, it's easy, and you get paid quick. Or if you are looking to buy, check us out on eBay or scroll through our games by console. Find us at ActiveReloadGaming.com.
And we are back. So you were mentioning that people of your age feel like there's this stigma around them. You think it's a culture problem. But at the same time, as people grow older, do you think it's just less time to play? Like, how much time are you realistically putting into a game a week?
No, and I don't. To me, time is relative. Like if you want to do something, you find time to do it. Now, during the week, it gets harder for me to do. Maybe I only get an hour a night in. But come Fridays, I'm putting 5 hours in at night. I stay up a little bit later. Saturdays, after we do our stuff during the day, I have maybe 3-4 hours to put in. Sunday afternoons, I'm putting 3-4 hours in. So again, that's my relaxing time. So if you want to do it, you'll find time to do it.
Now, do you feel like you stayed in the video game realm because you got me into games and it was just easier to kind of connect and, have a bond with a son because you're like, I got this person in the games and it's going to allow me to continue to kind of connect. Like if you never got me in the video games, do you think you still would have been playing today?
Yes, you're a byproduct of me playing. So if I never had a child, I think I would still be gaming. Like I'm not gaming because of you. I got you into gaming because it was a way for us to bond, and because to me it put us both on the same level. Like there's no intellectual conversation with a 10-year-old that varies when it comes to gaming. So to me, that put us on the same level that we can again bond over something, learn over something, move forward at the same pace. So that's kind of why I do it. But you're a byproduct of me gaming, not me gaming because I had a son that I wanted to get into gaming.
No, I think that's fair. And I see where you're coming from. And I think the next thing I kind of want to move on to is where do you feel most included as an older gamer? And that's just like a very broad question, but where do you feel included?
Again, when you're on and you're multiplayer and they don't see who you are, I feel just as included as the next person because they don't see that I'm 57. For all they know, I could be 15. So, that's where I think you could be most included because when you're, behind a mic or not communicating at all in multiplayer, like nobody. Now, on the flip side, I don't like playing multiplayer anymore. But if you're asking me where I would feel most included, it would be multiplayer because nobody knows how old you are or what you are or where you're from or anything. So
And then where on the opposite side, where do you feel most ignored? Marketing, features, or community, etc.
Well, I feel we're most ignored. And again, I shouldn't say we. I feel I'm most ignored when it comes to features in games. I know we're going to go off kind of on a tangent here, but I do like story modes. I do like to have, we said it before, the Elder Scrolls sliders of difficulty. To me, if you are a video game producer, what does it matter if you put a difficulty level in, as long as I'm buying your game and it still can be played in the full intention that you had as a creator of the game, then what do you care? Because let me tell you, for me not having some difficulty levels, you just alienated me from ever buying your game, because I know that I wouldn't be able to play those, Souls like games at those levels. Because I can't tell you how many times I've said to Kobe, I'm like, oh my goodness, that game looks incredible. I want to play that. And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, Dad, that's a Souls like. And I'm like, not even going to waste the money on it, because I know I won't be able to play it. So again, I think that that's the biggest thing that I feel that people ignore about older players. Not everybody wants to be sweaty. Not everybody wants to be white knuckled through a game. Sometimes I like to appreciate the graphics and the art behind the game and the story behind the game without having to die 30 times and it takes me, 5-10 hours to get past one boss. I'm out. You just lost me with that. And I think one of the better games, and I know I'm jumping around, one of the best games that I've played to date with that in mind is the latest Doom, the Dark Ages. Dark Ages gave the best control for me. I wanted to play Eternal so bad, but it became too quick for me that I just couldn't get through it. But the Dark Ages, they went in, they let you pick, how difficult the enemies were going to be, and how difficult the boss was going to be, and how fast paced did you want it to be. Like, I've never seen a game as in depth as this lets you go with how customizable it is for me. Hey, if you want to go in and put all the sliders to the hardest, you should be able to do that. But on the flip side, I should be able to go put all the sliders to the easiest. But hats off to the Doom people, because that was the best. I would have never finished that Doom if it wasn't for those, easier sliders compared to what I did with Eternal.
Well, this is going to be the first area where I'm going to really disagree with you on. And I'm going to bring up a quote, and this is by Arrowhead Game Studios, the studio that made Helldivers 2 and Helldivers 1. And this quote, I think, resonates with me, and I'm going to explain my reasoning. A game for everyone is a game for no one. So what I mean by that is, we can dive into the Souls-like conversation here. And I don't think these games like Souls-likes need a difficulty slider at all, because I think these games and the artistry behind them is made with a very certain concept in mind. And it doesn't have to be for everyone, just like a movie doesn't have to be for everyone, or a music album doesn't have to be for everyone. It fits a certain genre, it fits a certain kind of person, and I think that is okay. And being that you aren't connecting with the game because you don't want to sit down and invest in the skill level gap, invest in learning these enemy patterns and overcoming the challenge, I think that's fine. I really don't think like the Souls genre was built off of like this art and design in mind, and I don't think it needs to completely switch to bring in a whole new audience. I think if they start going off the beaten path and kind of alienating the design philosophies that they set out for themselves, then the Souls games start to become a little bit lost for what they truly are. And I think like I said, I don't think a game has to be made for everyone. Now, I will say accessibility wise, yes, I think games should be accessible. I think if you have physical disabilities, color blindness, etc., I do think games should always incorporate those options, because I think you should open the floodgates for everyone to at least try the game. But if you aren't connecting with the game because of the actual design philosophy and mechanics, I think that's okay, and admitting that game is not for you is okay. And I think with Doom: The Dark Ages, yes, Doom is one of my favorite franchises of all time. And I appreciate that they brought that in, and it does allow more people to play. But that's an accessibility option. That is not inherently a difficulty slider. And I think that is where we're kind of getting into two very different topics. But no, I don't think that the difficulty of Souls games need to be tinkered with or have options. I do think you need better accessibility for people with disabilities or slower reaction times and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's an interesting debate to have.
Sure, because I'll rebut that real short here. But again, then tell me why Xbox is putting their games everywhere. Tell me why Sony's starting to put their games on PlayStation, because they want it to be accessible and playable by everybody. And at the end of the day, it's money.
I think those are two very different things. I think putting your games on multiple platforms versus a difficulty slider are two very different sides of an argument.
But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it's about revenue for these companies. So with you saying there's a hard line, there shouldn't be a slider on Souls likes, then it alienates me. But I'm just going to ask you, what do you care if there was a slider on it? If you're playing it at the Souls-like level, what would you care if there was a slider to go down? Now, where it benefits is it gets me that I would never buy that game in there as a player to play it. But why would you care? It doesn't impede or affect your play style, your decisions whatsoever. So why would you care?
Because I feel like at a certain point it starts to inflict on the artistry of the game. Like, I want to know what the creator's original intention was.
You still can do that. It doesn't impede you for that. So what you want to do at the purest level of the artist, it is still there. What it's doing is giving an option for somebody like me to tone it down and experience that art as well. If they changed it that you wouldn't get the true experience, then I'd be on board with you 100%. But for you to say that, oh, I don't want to change because it's going to ruin the art of it, when you could still play it as the art, then respectfully, I have to disagree. You're being selfish in that point to say that, hey, I want to be part of this elitist group that can only finish a Souls-like and you can't.
I mean, I still think, so we're going to look at this. Liza P did add difficulty sliders in the newest update. And if you wanted to try, you can go see. But yeah, like they said, the easiest difficulty for players who enjoy lighthearted action games, you can experience the story with lighter combat challenges. So they are starting to incorporate it. And I haven't tested or played to see if it changes anything. But I wouldn't even say it's an elitist group. I just say the game's not for you. It's not for you. I think that's fine. I don't think the game has to be made for everyone.
But see, I would love it to be like when I see the trailers and I see that medieval, I love it. I would be invested in that world, but I can't get invested in that world.
But I think the thing is with these games, it's so like, I don't know if you would get the same dopamine as someone who's playing it as intended, because so much part of that game is overcoming the challenge. Like the inherent design of these games is almost feeling small, where it's like, I can't overcome this. This is near impossible. But then it's that eureka moment, like, oh my God, I get it. And you have that perfect run. Like that's what so much like relies on these games. And that's what creates the moments and like the clips that you see online. So like, I'm curious to see like if you would even get the same attraction or desire to play these games and go and overcome these fights.
But see, you're imposing your experience and excitement and expecting that that's the same experience and excitement I would have of a game. I just played a game that I put it down to story mode and I got 3/4 of the way through and I'm like, yo, there's no, enemies coming at me. So I had to tweak it up a little bit. So again, what my experience is out of it and what you're trying to, again, push your experience on what my experience would be with the game. I might be fine going through the story mode and not having the exhilarating moment that I, after 4 hours, I killed the boss. I just want to experience the world.
Well, I think you should probably go try Liza P and see. Like
I would love to.
we can double back to this at a later time to follow up on this conversation, because I'd be willing to say, you know what, I'm wrong, move on from that, because I've only ever experienced these games the very certain way, and I know it's a hot topic whether or not it artist intentions, creations, etc. There's a lot of debates behind it, and I haven't tested the easy mode. I've only played whatever
But
the
why
game is.
should you test that? If your experience is still going through the way the artist intended it, then what do you care? Like, I wouldn't ask you to go back and play it in the easy mode, because that's not the way you want to experience the game.
I mean, because I would like to see what it has to offer. Because, for example, this is the first time in Lies of P ever that a Souls-like has ever even introduced a difficulty slider. So I want to see, what does that even do? Is it less enemies? Is it less combos that are being put onto you? Is it less like? I want to see what is inherently changing, because it's never happened until now. So, like, even the From Software games, like Elden Ring, has added mechanics to make the game easier. For example, you have summons and everything. I like in-world mechanics to make that game have, like, essentially like a difficulty slider, because in Elden Ring, for example, there are items and miscellaneous items and quests that you can do to buff your character up to make that game a breeze. Like, there are so many different things you can use. Like, you can summon creatures, you can get co-op people in. Like, there's different avenues, and you can make that game as easy or as hard as you want it. And there's so many different builds you can interact with, and that was inherently built into the game to make it a streamlined experience. So I've never seen a difficulty slider in these games, so I want to see what it changes.
But see, that's the key operative word that you keep using, is I like and I like. What about what I like?
But have you even tried Elden Ring or tried to see?
I tried the different ones. I've tried Liza P. It was too hard for me. I tried playing through the demo of Liza P when it came out, and I love the world that it's in.
So,
but I just couldn't do it. But anyway, let's move on.
To moving on, when you do load up a game, what are the first settings you change in a new game, and why?
Well, first and foremost, I go and change the difficulty level. That's the first thing I look for. And then I'm also colorblind, so I look if they have a colorblind, setting on it, and I'll change that. But that's the first thing that I go to.
Yeah. And we kind of went over this, so I'm not going to do that. So what in games feels like the most friction to you nowadays? Like, do you hate busy HUDs? Do you hate multiple complex systems? Like, when you pick up a game and you start to see an influx of information being like beamed into your head, like, what do you find has the most friction?
That's an easy one. I grew up playing Madden, the first Madden all the way up, and then it got to the point where they made it too complex. Like, you would throw the ball and you got to, X, Y, A, B, right bumper, left bumper for the guy to catch it. And it just got too complex for me. It's like, I just don't remember. I that's why I don't like any of the Tom Clancy stuff. I always thought Tom Clancy all of their stuff was overcomplicated for just to shoot the gun. And I'm a massive Mortal Kombat fan. I have a stand-up machine in my basement, Mortal Kombat. I think I've bought every Mortal Kombat on every system. It's even getting to the point now, as I get older, with the combinations to do it. It's like, I just can't, especially when it's timed. It's a tough time for me to get the combinations in. And I don't know how many times I used to call you downstairs, Kobe, when you were upstairs here, and say anything that was a timed run to get through stuff. It's just getting harder and harder. What happens as you get older is your brain says, move your thumb forward. And now your thumb moves. Like, the reaction, you can literally see the reaction time go down as you get older. And it gets frustrating, because I know what I was and I know what I am now. And it just gets more and more frustrating as the games get more and more combinations and time things in it. It gets frustrating.
Yeah, I don't like timed missions in games. I think they're kind of annoying. I think it's a mechanic of the past at this point. Now, granted, I appreciate when they incorporate like speed run times, like, hey, let's see how fast you can do this thing, and having a timer like that. But I hate when it's like instant fails, time stuff. I also don't like when games have instant fail stealth sections as well. Like Mafia does it, Star Wars Outlaws did it for a bit, but then they fixed it. Like, you know, I think those are some friction moments as well in games where I just, yeah, it's just it gets frustrating at points. But yeah, I think timed mechanics are definitely a thing of the past, and I hope they don't really make a huge comeback as much as they were, especially in the 360 generation, where so many games had timed levels. So it's like you got 2 minutes to
And
run from this thing. And
I
like,
truly love to go through games and take my time. Like I like to look at every nook and cranny. I love admiring the artistry of the game. Like I am a big person. The first thing I look for is three things in any game: the fire, the hair, and the water. Like I always go to them because I just love the artistry in the game. And so when it's time to run everything that artist put into that level or that experience, I miss. It's a flash because you're making me run through it. So I don't get to look at the pictures on the wall or, a book that's on the desk. I like looking at that stuff. I'm the person that's got to look in every corner of every room because I enjoy the artistry.
true. And myself as an achievement hunter, I like picking up all the collectibles to get the achievements. And when it's timed, I don't really have a lot of time to go pick it up. And if I make one wrong pixel move, it's like, oh no, I'm screwed. So, but with game design, checkpoints, save anywhere, pause anytime. How important
Huge.
are they?
I love games that let me save at any time because let me tell you, like how I play is like if I just got done a horde of enemy, I'll quick save. And then as I pick up, something that's needed, I'll quick save. Like I am a big quick saver just because I don't want to go back. That's why I'm not a Souls-like person. I don't like the frustration of dying and then having to redo what I just did. Like I grew up in the era of doing that. Like games today are not hard compared to games when I grew up. When I grew up, first and foremost, you'd probably get 3 games a year if you were an average kid. And I grew up, upper middle class. You got 3 games a year and you played them all year because it would take you that long to beat them. You hear all the time that people still haven't beat Contra or people still haven't beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out or things of that. Kid Icarus was one of them. Like they're games that you had to play 8 months every day to even get remotely close to beat them. Contra had 3 lives, and once it was done, you start. I don't care if you were on the last level, you started from the very beginning.
Yeah, the Konami code.
That's just the up, down, whatever, A, B, whatever. But again, that's the difference between back then and now. But I don't have the patience. We just said, like, my time's limited, and we're back to that. Why don't older people do it? Time limited. Well, when you have a Souls-like or something like that just keeps, you have to put in to get past one wave of people. People don't have that time to play those type of games, and they may have played them when they were younger and liked that genre, but it's just too hard, and they don't have as much time to play.
I wish all games had pause anytime. I will say the biggest offender is Souls-likes. As much as I love them, God, not having a pause button to really pause the game is frustrating at points, especially when I need to take a bathroom break. I'm like, I need to go find a good place for enemies not to find me, or I'm going to go and get grouped up on when I'm gone. So it is frustrating. But yeah, I do think in non-multiplayer settings, most games should have a pause anywhere. I think it just makes sense. I don't know why you wouldn't include it. So my next question to you is, after weeks away, can you re-enter like easily into a game? Like, what do you find to help you re-enter into a game? As this isn't just for an older gamer, but for anyone realistically. Like, do you look at good quest logs? Do you look at recap screens, control refreshers? Like, give me a breakdown of what you do to go back to a game that you haven't played.
Here's a frustration with me. And it's not easy to go back, and I don't really care about recaps. What's big for me to go back when I'm away from a game a little bit is the control scheme. And the thing I found out is a lot of games, if they go in and they show the controller that, A's jump and this is this, a lot of them don't show the combos of what you've learned as you progressed. And I wish I had it here. I'd pull and show you, but there's a lot of times that if I know I'm not going to finish the game, I get a sticky note and I will start putting like, AY is going to be this, or, you have to do this. Like I'll make notes for myself on the special functionalities that aren't in the basic, controller layout to show, and I will stick it on inside of the case. And that's how I jump back in. But the controllers are what I don't remember. Like I just don't remember, that, hey, you have to do this and this for the special move. And that's the biggest frustration of me getting back into it is the controller layout of all of the buttons of what you need to do.
Yeah. So do you think games should recognize if you've been a few weeks away to give you a control?
I would love
refresher?
that. Now, hearing, you want to give your disclaimer about Xbox, hearing Xbox, the potential of it coming out with the new AI chip and everything else, and we don't know what it's going to do. I hope it does do things like that. I hope it does give me a refresher when I'm away from it for so long, that it does give me, hey, look, here was the button layouts that you had, things of that nature. That would be super helpful for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to elaborate on anything there, but I will say I do think there are games nowadays that do have really good refreshers. I think the most recent example was Death Stranding 2. Every time I loaded up the game, it would give me a quick story recap to show me like, hey, here's where you're at, here's what you were doing. And I think the game always reminds you of controls. They always have the button prompts come up, like just kind of let you know what's happening, what to do. So they're doing that. I also liked how Final Fantasy 16 did it. They always had like the active time lore to go back to, which was at any moment time lore you can read about definitions, you can catch up on the story and such. I think there was another game that also had like a controller refresher at some point if you boot it up after a long time. I'm just not remembering what that game was, but I felt like there was one in recent times.
But even if they don't have a refresher, what I love about Mafia is when you'd go into the knife fights, it'd bring up the little controller key to the right.
Yeah.
That to me is the best thing to do for an older gamer is, the control. But as I said a couple podcasts ago, this is the first time in my gaming career that I'm playing something on Steam, on Xbox, on PlayStation, and on my Switch too. So I'm really putting my cognitive memory into overload, trying to remember all the different, because everybody has a different controller layout, putting that cognitive memory really into testing what I can do. So
yeah. Well, thinking that you're playing games across multiple devices, multiple games all at once, do you have in your mind a universal setting that you think would help across most games?
I don't know that there would be a universal setting, just for the fact that, again, there's different button layouts for everybody. I don't know that you could have a universal setting. Now, if you were keeping it within a platform, like, is there a universal setting for all Xbox games? Then there might be, where, something very simple, that right trigger should always be shoot. And I know that sounds very elementary, but as we just talked about, you go back to the Resistance first one and it wasn't. Like, that should just be something. Or a universal run. Like, okay, I don't know what it is. Right bumper might always be sprint, or press down on the right thumbstick, always be sprint. But something universal like that, I think, would be super, super helpful, because now what you're doing is you're bringing in the muscle memory from every game that you play, whether it be all on Xbox, that and don't have to think about and don't have to look up or remember that, hey, if I push down the right thumbstick, that's sprint. So things like that make it universal would be super helpful, not just for me. I think it would be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, fully agree. So as we start to kind of wrap up everything, I just got a few more questions. If you could address developers directly, what would your 30-second pitch be about all of this?
Say it one more time.
If you could address developers directly with your concerns, with like what we talked about here, what would your 30-second pitch be?
It would 100% be on the difficulty levels. Like, don't forget about us. Um, if somebody plays it in story mode or plays it at the highest level, do you really care as an artist of how they play it? Don't you want people just to experience your game? And again, I think that's the operative statement, is experience your game. It's okay for me to experience your game different than Kobe experiencing your game. The whole idea is that you're getting me into your game. And I think that that's the level that people got to look at anymore. Is there's younger players, there's older players, there's professional players, there's casual players. You know, we're just all at the end of the day players. And I think that that's what needs to be taken into consideration. And again, let me play the game the way I want to play it. And if that's sweat and knuckle, stressing out, sweaty game, then do it. If it's me that wants to kick back and casual and run through on a story mode and, then let it. At the end of the day, we're all in your game.
Yeah. And like, the more I think about it as we've gone through this, like, yeah, like, it isn't right of me to gatekeep something, right? Like, I shouldn't be gatekeeping a game because I'm like, you need to experience a certain way. So I think I just come at it from a different angle, which is I hope it doesn't impact on what that game actually is. Like, if they are stripping away a lot of what that game is, I think that's where I'm going to have a problem. And like I said, Lies of P is the first time that one of these have had a difficulty setting. I want to see what it's like. I would even go and put it on very easy just to see, like, are they keeping the same boss pattern designs? Like, what does that actually entail? I'd be curious to just see what it does.
Well, again, when you take, the difficulty slider, and I'm bringing it in from my perspective, difficulty sliders in a lot of games mean totally different things. So if you're back to my 30-second elevator pitch, I think that needs to be uniform, because in some games, the difficulty slider just means, less ammo and less health. Other difficulty things mean, like, I just played one, there was no enemies, which I'm like, I didn't even like that because I was just running through. I won some challenge. There's some, when you go back to the Doom Dark Ages, that let me get as minute as picking how tough my enemies were. So I think there needs to be some uniform idea of what the difficulty levels achieve in some way, shape, or form.
I would agree, because I think it's borderline. Do we consider this difficulty or do we consider this accessibility? And I think there is a fine line that we honestly need to define, because with Doom the Dark Ages, as the example used before, those are accessibility sliders to make the game more accessible. It's not inherently a difficulty because you already picked the difficulty. Like, you can pick Nightmare, but then you can customize how your Nightmare difficulty even feels. So it comes down to, is this difficulty? Is this accessibility? What are we defining here? And I think that is the ultimate question. And I don't think there's a clear answer yet, because like you said, difficulty can mean so many different things, where it's as simple as I take more damage than usual, or like you said, there's less enemies on screen. Like, it's just, there is no clear definition of a difficulty.
See, now I again respectfully disagree. I think that it should be able to be played the way that the individual wants to play it. So that is, whether it's difficulty, whether it's accessibility, I think it's a combination of both, because I should be able to play it the way that I want to, my play style. Again, you want to white knuckle and grind through this and make the most difficulty and the nightmare, settings, by all means do it. But I should have the ability to say, I don't want to play it at that white knuckle, that I want a more casual experience. What's the difference? It's giving the opportunity for everybody to play the game the way they want to play it.
But we also have to remember that a lot of this does incorporate development time, budgets, and a lot of these studios don't have the budgets or time for these extensive features. So there would have to be something done, maybe a standard API made, or a development suite that kind of go in and help with these games. And I know there's a lot of initiatives for research studies done and surveys done and tests for accessibility on these games. And it's an ever growing conversation. It's a conversation that needs to happen, because I do think, I don't think games should not be barred from individuals. I do think, games should be accessible to people, especially like I said, with disabilities. I think that is a must. And we shouldn't be borrowing from that. But that also does have a lot of budget constraints, development constraints, and a lot of these games, are overseen by stakeholders at the end of the day, and they need to meet these timelines. So,
but then you're putting the chicken before the egg scenario. If they make it more accessible to me, the older people, will they make more revenue? And I'm saying me as an older person, there's younger kids that can't play it because it's just too difficult for them. If they do that slider, will they make more revenue?
Well, I don't think a kid should be playing Doom the Dark Ages or like a Souls-like. So
why I let you do it?
Well, I'm an anomaly. You were sitting right next to me. So, but yeah, no, like at the end of the day, there's no right answer. And there's a lot of design decisions that need to be made early on. And I think we're starting to see games now release with some of these features in mind, because games take 5 to 7 years to make at this point. You're not going to see these changes happen for a long time. And I'm curious to see what the next generation of games is going to bring. And then we can start having a more in-depth conversation of what really needs to happen at that design table. What do we need to think about when building these systems, when designing it? Does it truly make sense for what this game is? There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of development concerns that goes into it as well. And it's something that needs to be standardized if we're going to go full in on it. Or
is the AI chip going to help with that instead of the putting it on the developer's shoulders?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, but there could be, where you have an AI in the background analyzing the game, how you're playing it, and a lot of games have done this before. Left 4 Dead's a prime example. Dead Space is a prime example, where the game dynamically controls what happens based on how well or bad you are doing. Like Left 4 Dead had the game director, as they called it way back in the day, where it would see how you're playing as a person and kind of adjust things to your play style. And I think that is awesome. I think an AI could also help with that, where it's analyzing how you play and tune the systems to you, how you are as a player. Like Dead Space would give more ammo, less ammo, more enemies, less enemies, depending on how you're doing it as a player.
See, I'll take that back to multiplayer. What is it called when they match you up with?
Skill-based matchmaking.
Skill-based matchmaking. So why do they do that? Why don't they just let it be the pure artistry of it? Why do they do skill-based matchmaking?
That's a whole other topic for another day, and I can't elaborate on some of it. For full context, I work at Xbox. None of my opinions reflect the company. I can't elaborate on a lot of it. And skill-based matchmaking is a hot topic in game state. I don't think there is no one can agree on an answer. That's to say the least. Now, granted, I think skill-based matchmaking is okay, but then you run into a lot of issues where people make Smurf accounts. They go and they just dominate these lower end lobbies, and it's a problem that you can't avoid per se. It can.
Let's take a step back there. You don't even have to get into there. Why would they start doing skill-based matchmaking?
They have done skill-based matchmaking to align people of similar skill with you.
Okay, so now when you look at a game, why can't an individual game be skill-based?
What are you talking? It is skill-based.
It's not. The skill-based matchmaking is, if I'm a potato shooter, I'm going to be, for my experience to be good and keep me in this matchmaking, they're going to match me up with other potato shooters.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. So why do they do that? So that my experience of the game becomes enjoyable and they keep me in the game.
Because that system has been built and is standardized, and it's an API that you can call, which allows you to develop the game a lot quicker nowadays. These systems have already been built, and it's been designed and thought about. For single player games, these systems and designs have not been thought about thoroughly yet.
Okay, but that's where I'm saying that even in a single player, to keep me in the game and make my experience the best that it can, they should have a slider.
Well, like I said, what you're thinking about the skill-based matchmaking, that kind of alludes to like the Left 4 Dead and Dead Space, where it automatically, dynamically evaluates how you're playing in real time and adjusts the game. But there's also difficulty sliders too. So there's, like I said, there's many different facets to it. But the reason why you're seeing this in ranked games in multiplayer is because those systems are already built, and developers are able to call into them. They don't have to go and build this thing from scratch.
Sure.
So it's readily available, and it costs less development time to put that into a multiplayer game versus building one for single player from scratch, because that's a lot harder of a task. Whereas with multiplayer, it's a lot easier to analyze because there are concrete stats that a developer can look at through the metadata coming into the actual backend system. So there is a lot of differences between the single player and multiplayer part.
As you can see, this is a hot topic between Kobe and I.
Shemplu says, "Oh man, I missed the show. You went back to 7 p.m. as normal. I thought it was 8 p.m. because of Gamescom." Yeah, that was only a special episode that happened. We are sticking to the 7 p.m. time slot on Monday. So, yeah, we're going to try to communicate that better, but that was just a one-off. We were returning back to normal for this one. And welcome to the hot debate. The last thing I want to ask you before we close this out is there anything you wish younger gamers understood about playing as we age?
Anything that you, be prepared. Like I said earlier, be prepared that you're going to watch, your reflex timing go down and your thought. I don't want to say that my thought process is down, but you're going to see the physical attributes of your gaming skills start to diminish, and you will see it right in front of you. Like you will notice it. Where I would be able to hang in a simple COD game, that's why I'm a single player guy, because I'm tired of getting teabagged by 12-year-olds, and I have to go to the single player because I don't want to stop the enjoyment of video games for me, but it's just too fast paced. Now I will go into a COD game with Kobe. Like I'll follow him and I'll be the support guy. I will definitely play Battlefield 6 online, but I don't know that I would jump into myself. Like I'll jump in on a squad with somebody that I'm not just holding. I can't hold it up by myself, but I'm a perfect support person at this point. Even with Gears of War going online, like I'll go on for a little bit and I get too white knuckled at the end of it and I'll go back to single player. Or to be honest with you, like Gears of War, I like playing, multiplayer with all AI, all bots in there, and it's not as fun, but it's the level that I get, and I still get my feel of playing multiplayer, because it stinks. So let me tell you that if you continue to be a gamer up to my age and older, you will see those skills get lessened right in front of you, and you see it. That's the worst part.
Yeah. I'm not there yet, so I don't have that experience.
Enjoy it while you can.
I'll start to enjoy it, but I do want to start wrapping down the show. And to the audience, thank you for listening. As the Father Son Gaming Podcast, we do have differing opinions, and sometimes debates will happen, but it's all in good fun. No hard feelings, as always. This is how we just talk normally when we start to get into a debate, because I enjoy hearing different philosophies about games that are different than mine, and just hearing different opinions, because it would help me also see if my opinion stands, if I want to change mine at all. I'm open to hearing all of this. Just want to see what other people have to say. So, do you have anything else to say about this whole ordeal, Dad?
I do not. I'm an old gamer, and I'm going to game until the day I die. That I can guarantee you.
I'm going to keep gaming too. But yeah, once again, thank you all for joining and listening to the Father Son Gaming Podcast. This happens every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. If there is any time that does happen besides the normal Monday, check our communications, check the Discord, join the Discord. We'll usually announce it there. But yeah, we are here 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific every Monday. Next week, we're going to be live from PAX West. Hopefully, there's no technical difficulties. If there is, we will start to announce it immediately on all our socials and the Discord itself. We're going to try our best to get that live from the venue. We're going to kind of scope it out on Friday. But yeah, we have a lot of cool game previews coming for you guys. Like I said, on next Monday, we're going to be talking about Kirby Air Riders, Pokemon Za Legends, Resident Evil Requiem, Onimusha Way of the Sword, Pragmata, and hopefully Crimson Desert. We are planning to get our hands on with all these games, as they're going to have demo booths there at PAX West here in Seattle, Washington. Before we head out, Touchy Feely says, young gamers young gamers should try to learn not to be all about achievements, getting the end game, instead focusing on enjoying that game. I'm an achievement hunter. I can't deny that. I like 100%ing getting all the achievements in a game. So that.
But touchy-feely, I said earlier that when I go through, I like to 100% admire the artistry of the game. And I said 3 things. You always look for the fire, the hair, and the water, because that'll tell you how great the graphics are for that game. But I love looking at everything in the game. I take my time. I enjoy it. I am an achievement hunter too, but I enjoy the game. I'm not just speed running for that.
And I will say the thing with achievements, the way I look at them is achievements let me explore different parts of the game that I would never explore to begin with, or to use different mechanics that I would have never gone back to. For example, let's just say get 50 kills with a sniper rifle. Like, I don't snipe in games, but being that's there, it allows me to try something that developer built, and I would like to go and try it for the 50 kills and see if I actually end up liking it. Or there's achievements that let people go into secret areas, and it's like, if I know that's there, it's like, okay, like I want to actively seek out these new areas. So in the weird way, achievements let me and help me explore a game in its entirety. But people play games in all different ways. So however floats your boat is always how I say. There is no right way to play a game at the end of the day. So with that, I'd like to close out. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. Like seeing you all pop up in the chat. And as always, we're all gamers at the end of the day. So have fun, play on whatever platform you like, play however you like, and enjoy video games. So we will see you guys next Monday live from PAX West. We're going to be in person. Until then, this has been the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. See you guys next time.